Hello bucket list buddies, and welcome to another episode of My Bucket List Day. So today we're going to do more RV maintenance and tips, and the topic of today is sanitation. That means we're going to clean the lines out and the tanks of where we have our fresh water. Now all of you know I'm pretty anal about making sure I have good, clean, crystal clear water that I can drink, and I also have an ice maker, so I want to make sure that it is top notch all the time. So for those of you that are part-time or full-time, doesn't matter, I'm going to go through the steps for you. And I'm making this super simple. You don't have to be a chemist to mix things up. You don't have to have all these special products. I'm going to show you what you need. Basically, if you have an RV, I don't care if it's a Class A, Class C, B, whatever, fifth wheel, travel trailer, you need to clean your lines or sanitize your lines from time to time. If you are a full-timer, you don't have to do it as often as a person who's part-time because they leave their rig sit for a while. We're using it, and so water's going through the system all the time. But we're going to talk about both part-time and full-timers. Obviously, you all know that I'm a full-time RVer, so I don't have to do it as often. So we're going to talk about that, the differences of those two. First off, you're going to need some things to make this happen. First, you're going to need a 5-gallon bucket. You're going to need bleach. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you have these special chemicals, cleaners, deodorizers, all that kind of stuff. You can do that if you want and you're comfortable with it. I've tried all those things too, and I just found that really doesn't do any better than just plain old simple bleach. Another thing you're going to need is just a measuring cup because you're going to want to mix this up. Now, don't worry about being accurate. Again, this is not chemistry class in high school. You'll get on YouTube and you're going to see that everybody recommends, I've seen things everywhere from a half a cup for every 10 gallons all the way up to a cup for 60 gallons. As long as you're not putting bleach in on metal surfaces like steel or things like that, which will oxidize it, you're fine. And other than your water heater, there's really none of that inside an RV. I don't care what class RV you've got. They use brass on all the fixtures or plastic, and with the exception of the water heater, as I mentioned, everything else is non-metal, so you're all right. But it's very important. I don't care what you're driving or pulling. If you've got a water heater, you've got to bypass your water heater. I'm going to show you how to do this on the Grand Design Momentum, where they have the Nautilus system, which is a great system, but if you don't have that, doesn't matter. I'm going to go through steps of what you got to do. Every RV's got a water heater shut off. Every RV's got a way to be able to put bleach in your tanks and in your lines to winterize. So this applies to anybody on any RV. Okay? So those are the basic tools that you're going to need. But for those of you that follow me on this channel, you also know that I have a water softener on board with an extra filter system and a regen kit. So we have to first of all bypass that water softener because we don't want to run bleach through the water softener. It'll damage those pellets. So that's a pretty easy thing to do. If you've ever watched my videos before on the water softener, you know that I have quick releases on those. So before we get started, let's go ahead and get on the other side of the coach in through the bay and disconnect that water softener or bypass that water softener so we can start this whole thing. So let's move on to that. So as I mentioned, I have to disconnect the water softener here before we go ahead and bleach the lines. So this filter here, we're going to empty or take this out and empty this and not have a filter in here while we're bleaching. So as you see, I have the quick disconnects everywhere, so it's a pretty simple job. I just disconnect this one here. Just let that drain in the bucket that I've got here. And I just take this one, put that there, and let's just close up the loop on the water softener. There, the water softener is disconnected now. And this is the line, this blue line here. Goes right back into the filter on the other side, which I'll show you, or previously showed you, and that'll go through the whole system. But let's go ahead and take this filter off. So we're just going here. Loosen it up. And get the canister back on. And we're ready on the inside here. Remember, this line's going back into the system, and we bypass the water softener. And this filter is now out, and we're ready to go. So let's go back outside and finish. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and just get started. And as I said, this is going to be simple as pie. Now, I am going to actually be traveling tomorrow, so I'm going to get a little extra swish swash, if you will, in my tanks with the bleach in there that you normally wouldn't get when you're just sitting stationary here. If you're sitting stationary, I recommend you fill your freshwater tank all the way up and let the bleach water sit in there for at least 12 hours, then drain it and rinse it, and then when you rinse it, you fill it all the way back up, rinse it out again. You want to get it there. Well, in my case, as I said, I'm traveling, so I'm not going to fill it all the way up. I have a 120-gallon freshwater tank. It's a lot of wasted water, in my opinion. So I'm going to put about 25-30 gallons in there with the bleach. And then as I'm driving around, it's going to swish around the whole tank and agitate up, get up on the top, the sides, everything else. And when I get to my destination, I'm going to rinse that all out, or drain all that out. Then I'll fill it up with fresh water again just to rinse all of that. The lines I'm going to do separately. I'm going to do the lines pretty much like you would winterize your lines. So I'm going to show you how we do that as well. So it's kind of a two-step process, but to simplify it, you really don't need to do what I'm going to do. All you really need to do is put bleach in your holding tank and then just fill up all your lines to all your fixtures from your holding tank that's got the bleach water in there. Let it sit for 12 hours and then rinse. That's all. That's all there is to it. It's not hard to do. In fact, it's doesn't take long at all. In fact, it takes a little longer to get all the gear you need to get the job done than it is to actually do the job. So it's a very simple process. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is, as you see, I disconnected the water from the RV park here. We are going to go straight into the Nautilus system where the water comes in or pumps in. And this is the city water inlet. And we use that for both filling the lines for winterizing as well as filling the tank and rinsing that. So it's kind of like when you fill your tank when you're getting ready to go dry camping. So before we get started though, I want to take this filter off. I've already loosened it. So we're going to spin the filter off. And we're just going to pour the water out on the ground here a little bit. Pull this filter out. This is a 1 micron filter that I've used, but I'm going to replace that, so we'll just send that out. And then we'll spin that back on. And we'll just give it a little hand tight. Now, as you all know, I also have this other 5 micron filter and then an inline 20 micron filter. And then I've got up top here, which I don't know if you can see this, I've got the smart valve that turns the water off if there's ever a leak when my water detector sends that. I've got a flow meter and then a pressure regulator, water regulator. We're going to bypass all of that and go straight into the Nautilus system on just the intake valve. I don't want to put bleach through all of that stuff, okay? Even though it's all brass, it won't hurt it. Don't need to really do that. So the first step is to take your little hose, and I actually had a little flex hose here where the end fell off, so it's a great siphon hose now. Yes, as you see, quick disconnects I have everywhere. So we'll go ahead and just thread this in here. Alright, I've got the siphon hose connected and ready to go. So now we have to measure out our bleach. Now we're just going to use a 5-gallon bucket to fill the lines. But before I start with that, let's set the Nautilus system to where it needs to be. Now in the top here, it says to winterize, and we want to change all the valves, they're all colored valves, into the way it says to winterize. But the first thing, and it also says to do that, is the red one right here, that's your water heater. As I mentioned before, you don't want to put bleach through your water heater. So let's go ahead and turn that off. And now that is off. So if we follow the diagrams, we have the blue sideways, the white sideways, the green, and the red sideways. Now we're ready to winterize. But before you turn that water heater off, a little advice, turn the water heater off itself. So you don't want it to be sitting there heating water that's just standing stagnant inside the water heater. So go ahead and turn that water heater off before you do all of this. As I mentioned, we're going to measure out some bleach. Now we're using this 5-gallon bucket here, so we don't need to fill it up with bleach or anything like that. But I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup or approximately of bleach in there. I'm just going to fill this up without spilling on myself, because I usually do that. And pour a 1/4 cup of bleach in the bucket. Alright, now that the bleach is in there, we just fill up the bucket the rest of the way. Okay, drop in the siphon hose. And remember, we're on the winterize now. We're just going to turn the pump on. And now we're going to go inside and we're going to start turning the faucets on until we start to smell bleach water, which should be pretty darn quick. I'm going to also make sure that my ice maker is on. We're going to make ice and run bleach water down to that. Obviously we're going to throw that ice out, but make sure everything is clean. Okay, so let's go on inside and turn on all the fixtures. Got bleach smell here. Okay, testing the water here. Getting that bleach smell. Test the hot. Got bleach smell there. I've already done the the washing machine and the ice maker, so we're all good there. I know I've got bleach in those lines. So tomorrow, when I get to my destination, we'll rinse everything out. Okay, we're almost done here. And the bucket's almost empty. I've been going back and forth and turning on different valves. It's kind of hard to do when you're by yourself. It's much better with 2 people. So now we're going to fill the tank with the same solution. Let that swish around. But all the lines are all full of bleach water now. I have ice maker, I have a wash machine, the shower, the sink in the bathroom, the sink in the kitchen. Oh, and I also did this. So the lines coming out from my hoses are bleached as well. So that should be everything. And now let's refill and fill up the tank to do the same thing. I'm sorry, won't bore you with the details. We'll go ahead and fill this up, turn the camera off, and I'll turn it back on when we're almost empty here. And then we'll wrap this up. Okay, and that's all there is to it. The bucket's empty. All the lines and fixtures have got bleach water in them. And the tank has got about, it's 35 to 40% full, and that's full of bleach water. It's maybe closer to 50%. But anyway, now tomorrow is my travel day. I don't have any need to run the water between now and my next destination. I showered just before I got out here. So, and I've got bottled water to drink and bottled water to brush my teeth and things like that. All the dishes are done, so nothing's there's going to be a thing, and all the laundry's done. So I don't need water for a day and a half. Flushing toilets you can still do because you're going to keep pulling bleach water out of your tank. If you want to use your toilets, go right ahead and do so. You just don't want to use the sinks and the dishwasher, or not dishwasher, washer and the ice maker. Let those continue to go. As I mentioned, I did run a cycle in my washing machine, so that's full of bleach right now too, and we'll let that slosh around as I'm driving. Okay, so if you can, you don't have to, but if you can, it's best to do this on a move day, or just before a move day if you can, and let that sloshing around clean everything up. Again, I always let it sit for about 12 hours. You can do somewhere around 8 to 10 hours, that's fine, or even 6 hours probably. But I like to let it sit for as long as possible. So it's about 6 p.m., 7 p.m., I don't even know. Right now in the evening, I will be leaving early in the morning, probably get to my destination tomorrow at around 3 o'clock. And so that gives us what? 16, 18 hours bleach in there. And when I get there, I'll hook up to fresh water and start rinsing everything out. I'll empty the tanks, of course, and then rinse that out separately, but the lines I'll rinse out with the water at the new RV campground. Well, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It'll be 16 hours for me, but it'll be about 6 seconds for you. Actually less. Maybe even less, like 1, 2, 3. Welcome back. So we're the next day and I'm at the new location, and I went ahead and I've hooked everything up, as you can see right in here. I've got the water hose connected right here, and I've already been flushing things. Now I admit, because the video is getting kind of long, I didn't go through the process. You guys get the idea. You put the hose on, then you turn all the faucets on, everything on, and you just run it until all the chlorine smell is gone. I'm sorry, not chlorine, but bleach. Bleach smell is gone. Then I went ahead and I took my little test strips and tested my water and checked everything, and that came out almost perfect. Not perfect, so I ran all the water a little bit longer, another 10 minutes, then did another test, and it came out completely perfect. So now my water quality is as good as bottled water, spring water, not the tap kind or the that you buy like Dasani, that garbage water, but really, really good, clean, clear water. So all the lines are rinsed. I ran a load or water through the washing machine, and the only thing that's taken a little longer than planned, I think, is the ice maker. So I will probably run the ice maker another day just to make sure all the bleach is out of the line there. I'll dump that ice and then we'll start fresh and we should be good to go. Well, that's it. That's how you sanitize your rig. And again, I don't care if you've got a Class A, a Class C, a B, whatever, or a fifth wheel travel trailer. The process is exactly the same. Now here, obviously, we have the great Nautilus system here that Grand Design puts in, makes it a little easier, but it doesn't matter what you got, if you've got this or not, or any other system. Make sure you always turn that water heater off. Do not run bleach into the water heater, that's not good. And once everything's rinsed out, then you can turn your water heater back on, which, as you see, I've done. The red knob is pointing up now, so it's back on. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and that little bell, reminding you when I put a video out. And I appreciate it very much. Thanks for watching. Make it a great bucket list day.